The Port of Felixstowe and their new rivals on the Thames, London Gateway, got into a public argument over the weekend about ships' access times to their respective ports and about onward transport costs within the UK. London Gateway's chief executive Simon Moore told the Telegraph that ships would only have to steam for an additional couple of hours more than it would take them to reach Felixstowe to get to London Gateway, while Felixstowe's Clements Chang, Central European MD for Hutchison Ports, insisted that the additional steaming time would be nearer 6 hours each way, as very large container ships can only enter the Thames by way of Black Deep, which is entered at the sunk pilot station around 2 hours from Felixstowe. So we thought we'd try an experiment. Using the Marine Traffic Shipping website, we took a snapshot when two similar ships were approaching the sunk pilot station at 6 p.m. on Wednesday the 24th of October. The Sophie Maersk, heading for Felixstowe, and the Dallas Express, heading for Thamesport, Hutchison's port on the Medway, more or less the same distance as London Gateway. The Dallas Express anchored, throwing off our calculations, but we've now adjusted for that. It took around 2.5 hours for Sophie Maersk to come alongside at Felixstowe. The Dallas Express, meanwhile, lay at anchor until nearly 1 a.m. when she up-anchored and headed south, and she was alongside at Thamesport at around 7 a.m, some 6 hours later. So in this instance, it took around 3.5 hours longer for a vessel to reach a terminal which is roughly the same distance away as London Gateway. Meanwhile, the OOCL Seoul, outbound from Thamesport, left at around 3:30 a.m. and turned at the sunk at about 7:30 a.m, taking about 2.5 hours longer and travelling maybe 40 or so further miles than a ship coming from Felixstowe. For much smaller ships than the giants which come to Felixstowe and which London Gateway is hoping to attract, there's a much more convenient route into the Thames, the Prince's Channel. But that's only dredged to around 8 metres below low water, and probably wouldn't be an advised route for container ships, even a third of the size of the biggest. So what we've got from this is that essentially there's going to be a cost in ships' steaming time to London Gateway against the time taken to get to Felixstowe, and it's likely to be longer than 2 hours each way, depending on conditions and traffic. The inbound Dallas Express was making as little as 12 knots at times in Black Deep, adding around 3.5 hours to the time she would have taken sailing to Felixstowe. But the outbound OOCL Seoul managed 17.5 knots most of the way, adding just 2 or 2.5 hours. For shipping lines, the additional cost of travel may not be so much of a problem, as they're used to anchoring while waiting for a berth. But the extra hours underway will cost them more in fuel at around 7 to 10 tonnes per hour. Next time online, we'll take a look at the benefits in road delivery miles that London Gateway is claiming.